At 3:17 a.m., your eyes snap open. The room is dark, silent. Nothing unusual happened, and yet your heart is racing like something terrible is standing just outside your vision. For a few seconds, you don't move. You just stare into the darkness with that strange feeling humans know instinctively, but almost never talk about. The feeling that you are not alone. Most people brush this off immediately. Just anxiety, just imagination, just the brain misfiring in the dark. But the truth is far stranger, because the sensation of a hidden presence is one of the oldest and most universal experiences in human history. People across completely different cultures, religions, languages, and time periods have described the exact same thing, a feeling that something invisible is watching them. And modern neuroscience has discovered that this experience may reveal something deeply unsettling about how the human brain constructs reality itself. Because your mind is not simply recording the world around you, it is constantly predicting it. Every second of your life, your brain is running simulations: where objects are, where danger might be, who is nearby, what intentions other people have. You never experience raw reality directly. You experience your brain's best guess about reality. Most of the time, those predictions are accurate enough that you never notice them happening. But sometimes the system glitches, and when it does, the brain can generate one of the most terrifying experiences a human being can feel: the illusion of a presence. Scientists first became fascinated by this phenomenon while studying mountain climbers and polar explorers. Healthy, rational people kept reporting the exact same impossible experience. While completely alone, they suddenly felt as though another person was walking beside them. Not imagined vaguely, felt physically. Some even described sensing specific positions, footsteps, breathing, or a figure standing just behind their shoulder. One famous example came from explorer Ernest Shackleton during his Antarctic expedition. As his team crossed brutal frozen terrain near death from exhaustion, multiple members later described the powerful feeling that a fourth person had been walking alongside the three of them. This became known as the third man factor. And the strangest part, it appears again and again throughout history. Shipwreck survivors, people isolated at sea, astronauts, extreme endurance athletes, patients during neurological episodes, different people, different circumstances, same feeling. Something is here. For years, this sounded supernatural, until neuroscience found a disturbing explanation. In 2014, researchers at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology managed to artificially trigger the feeling of a presence inside a laboratory. Not with ghosts, not with hypnosis, with robots. Here's what they discovered. Your brain constantly combines sensory information from touch, movement, and body awareness to maintain a stable map of where you end and the outside world begins. That sounds simple, but it's actually an extraordinary process. At every moment, your brain predicts the consequences of your own movements. If you move your hand, your brain expects the sensation that follows. If those predictions become disrupted, the brain starts struggling to determine whether sensations belong to you or to someone else. And during the experiment, scientists introduced tiny delays between a participant's movement and the sensation they received on their back. Just milliseconds of mismatch. That was enough. Participants suddenly reported feeling another being standing behind them. Some panicked, some begged to stop the experiment. One participant became convinced there were multiple invisible people in the room, which means something deeply unsettling is true. The feeling of a hidden presence can be generated when the brain loses confidence in its own body map. Your mind can accidentally split parts of yourself into an external entity. In a sense, the brain mistakes its own signals for someone else. And once you understand that, human fear starts looking very different, because evolution shaped your nervous system to prioritize survival, not accuracy. If your ancestors incorrectly assumed a predator was nearby, they wasted energy. But if they ignored danger that was actually there, they died. So the human brain evolved to err on the side of detection, especially in darkness, especially in isolation, especially when exhausted or uncertain. Your brain would rather create a false presence than miss a real threat. And that's why certain environments feel so psychologically disturbing. An empty hallway at night, a silent house, a dark forest, an unfamiliar room. The lack of information forces the brain to increase prediction, and increased prediction often creates fear, because uncertainty is unbearable to the human nervous system. Your brain constantly wants answers, What made that sound? Who's there? Am I safe? When no clear explanation appears, the mind starts generating possibilities on its own. This also explains why loneliness can begin feeling physically haunting. Humans are profoundly social creatures. Your brain evolved expecting the constant presence of other minds. Conversation, faces, movement, voices. When social isolation becomes extreme, the nervous system starts reacting in strange ways. Research on solitary confinement, sensory deprivation, and prolonged isolation consistently shows the same pattern. The brain begins generating experiences, whispers, movement, shadows, presences. Not because people are weak, because the social brain becomes unstable without input. Your mind is built to exist around other minds. And when that expectation collapses, reality itself can begin bending. But there is another layer to this that becomes even stranger, because sometimes the presence you fear most is not external at all. Psychologists have long noticed that people project hidden emotions onto the world around them. Unprocessed guilt, grief, shame, fear. The human mind struggles to contain certain feelings consciously, so instead, they emerge indirectly, as paranoia, as dread, as the feeling that something unseen is watching. Carl Jung believed the human psyche contains what he called the shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves we reject, suppress, or refuse to confront. And perhaps that explains why darkness feels psychologically powerful. In darkness, external distractions fade. The mind becomes louder. And sometimes what feels like a presence in the room is actually your own mind finally becoming impossible to avoid. Which leads to one of the strangest truths about fear. Humans are not only afraid of monsters, we are afraid of uncertainty, afraid of silence, afraid of emptiness, afraid of confronting ourselves without noise to distract us. That's why people sleep with televisions on, why they scroll endlessly through their phones, why complete silence can feel uncomfortable after only a few minutes. Because stillness removes distraction, and distraction often protects us from ourselves. But here's the fascinating part. The same brain mechanisms that create fear also create meaning. The ability to sense invisible patterns, intentions, and hidden presences may have helped humans survive, cooperate, create religion, invent stories, and develop imagination itself. The line between fear, spirituality, creativity, and consciousness is thinner than most people realize. Your brain is constantly filling in reality beyond what your senses directly provide. And sometimes that ability becomes so powerful that the mind starts generating entire experiences out of uncertainty alone. So the next time you wake up suddenly in the dark with the feeling that something is there, remember this: your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: predict, detect, protect. Even if that means creating ghosts out of silence. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. The human mind fears the darkness so deeply that when it cannot find something in the void, it sometimes creates something itself.